Welcome to Warrior Wisdom Wednesday on Coffee with Alain. I'm going to share a story, Tiger Wolf, out of this book, The Storyteller, The Wisdom of Legend and Lore, written and compiled by Dennis Dallas and Mike Chaet. Dennis Dallas was one of my earlier instructors studying martial arts. I started training with him, I believe, in 1989 when I got out of the military. And so I wanted to share a story, Tiger Wolf, from this book, because today happens to be Global Tiger Day or International Tiger Day. And that's why I have tiger on my mug here. Got a white tiger on the mug. This day was created, I believe, in 2011. And it's a day to make tiger conservation awareness. You know, there used to be 100,000 wild tigers or more, throughout Asia and different countries. The wild tiger population dwindled to 3,000 and some. There were only 3,000 and some tigers left in the wild. From what I understand now, and I've read, they're up to in the 5,000s. Still not that many. But the conservation efforts have been working because they've grown from 3,000 to 5,000 in the wild, trying to keep these magnificent animals from becoming extinct because they were going that direction. And there are a couple types of tigers that are no longer in the wild. I think 2 maybe of the 7, I forget exactly, but there are tigers that are no longer in the wild, types of tigers. And the number in the wild now is about the 5,000s. So it's a conservation effort that I have donated to and been associated with for years and years because I've always just had that connection with tigers. If you've never had a tiger lick you, they got a super, super rough tongue. It's, so rough. It's like being licked by sandpaper. But I just wanted to share that because it is International Tiger Day. And I wanted to share this story because it's Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. So let's look at the story Tiger Wolf from this book. Once in a legendary land, there was an animal, a mythical beast called a tiger wolf. The tiger wolf was considered by far to be the most ferocious animal in the forest. One day, this tiger wolf was walking through the forest in the rain. He saw a light in the distance. He crept up on the light and noticed a small cottage. As he approached the cottage, he peeped into the window. He saw an old man and woman sitting at a table. The woman seemed agitated and she looked all around her and she said, "Oh, it's raining so hard and I'm just afraid we're going to get a leak in the roof. And nothing scares me more than a leak in the roof." The tiger wolf, hearing this, was very confused because up until this point, he thought he was the most feared animal in the forest and he couldn't understand what it was the woman feared more than he. Just then, a robber came sneaking up on the house. Mistaking the tiger wolf for a horse, he decided to jump on its back and ride off with it. When this happened, the tiger wolf immediately made the conclusion that it was a leak in the roof. Oh my goodness, he started jumping around and thrashing left and right. I just know that a leak in the roof jumped on my back. It is strong and ferocious. I've got to get away. He started jumping all over the yard, and finally the man let go and sailed up in the air. When he came down, he happened to come down right on top of the well. All the way to the bottom he tumbled. Splash! Cautiously, the tiger wolf crept up to the edge of the well and peered over the edge. Shaking violently, he looked over the edge and saw what he thought would be a leak in the roof. But all he could see was the darkness in the bottom of the well. Just then, a long-tailed monkey came along. Swinging down from the tree, he noticed that the tiger wolf was shaking. "Tiger wolf," said the monkey, "I can't believe it. I've never seen you shaking like that before. What scares you so?" "Well," said the tiger wolf, "a leak in the roof jumped on my back, and I just barely escaped with my life. I shook him off, and he fell into the well." "A leak in the roof," said the monkey. "Ah, I would be very curious to see what a leak in the roof really looks like." So he dipped his tail down into the well to see if he could pull it up. The man, looking at the tail, thinking someone dropped him a rope, grabbed hold. The man was much heavier than the monkey, and the monkey started to get concerned as the man started to pull himself up out of the well. Somewhat of a seesaw action began to happen. The monkey coming down and the man falling back into the well, and the monkey coming up and the man pulling himself up again. Finally, the monkey gave a very large effort and his tail snapped off. And from that day on, this type of monkey never had a tail again. All of the stories in this book end with an opportunity to think about the lessons that maybe we could learn from those stories. And I know that Shihan Dallas used to tell stories, especially after class, and discuss lessons learned with students. Tiger Wolf was sort of afraid of something make-believe, right? He was afraid of something that wasn't really to be afraid of. And that happens to a lot of us in life. The monkey, he just stuck his tail down there to see what was going on, carefree and careless, and lost his tail for it. So when he should have maybe used a little more caution, he didn't. So it sort of shows different sides of being afraid of things we shouldn't be afraid of and not using caution maybe when we should. And I think that applies to all of us a time or two. So good little lesson about the monkey and the tiger wolf from this book on International Tiger Day 2026. International Tiger Day, Global Tiger Day is celebrated, or it's on July 29th every year. I don't know if we celebrate it. It's just a day to recognize the conservation efforts to save tigers that have been working, but it's still tough because they have lost so much habitat, and there are groups doing what they can to make sure they preserve so we don't lose these magnificent animals. And again, that's one of the charities that I've been associated with throughout the years. And so wanted to bring awareness to that because that's what today is for, to bring awareness. And I wanted to read this story from one of my martial art instructors to get us thinking about things that maybe we're afraid of and we shouldn't be, and a lesson on being cautious when we should be. Don't want to lose our tail like the monkey, but we don't want to be in fear of nothing like the tiger wolf. I'm going to say hello to a couple people before I head out of here. Good morning, Thad. Thank you for being here and saying good morning. Thad put a little tiger emoji. Good morning, Jay and Vicky. Thank you guys for being here and saying good morning. Good morning, Dixon. Dixon said, Juk Jay Horang Nao. So, and put some Korean and Chinese kanji on there. Thank you, Dixon. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, everybody, watching live, commenting, watching replays and commenting, watching without commenting, listening to the podcast, whether it's at the website, Apple, Spotify, wherever, it doesn't matter. I appreciate all of you. Remember to go to enjoylifesafely.com for blog posts, free downloads, courses, all of the Coffee with Alain episodes, video and audio, depending on which you prefer. Go out, make it a wisdom-filled Wednesday. Remember the tigers. I'll be back to see you tomorrow.